When indie developer Young Horses releases a new game, you can safely bet that the game in question is going to be super weird. I mean, these are the folks that made the Octodad games after all. But somehow Bugsnax manages to outclass even those games in terms of sheer strangeness, and while I think it's worth checking out on those grounds alone, the game backs up its bizarre premise with surprisingly mature writing and fun, laid-back mechanics. Bugsnax is set in a world inhabited by Muppet-like creatures known as Grumpuses, where you, a Grumpus reporter, are invited to the mysterious Snacktooth Island by Lisbeth Megafig, a disgraced explorer. Upon traveling to the island, you discover that Lisbeth is missing, the community she built has drifted apart, and also the island is overrun with creatures called Bugsnax that are basically sentient food items. Kinda bug and kinda snack, if you will. The bulk of the plot follows your search for answers. Where is Lisbeth? What exactly are Bugsnax? Why does eating them transform Grumpuses into eldritch food-based abominations, and why do they seem really happy about it? Evidently, the game has a lot of mysteries to solve and plot threads to follow, and without spoiling anything, I can't recall the last time I played a game that was so reliant on its story, yet still managed to satisfyingly tie everything up by the end. But beyond the surface-level intrigue, I found Bugsnax's writing to be really engrossing, as Snacktooth Island is populated by a handful of deeply flawed yet still kind of charming characters who each have their own personal story arcs to involve yourself with. Part of what makes Bugsnax's roster of Grumpuses so fun to deal with is the quality of their voice work. The game features a surprisingly star-studded cast of vocal talent, and there are so many personality-packed performances on offer here that it's hard to pick my favorites. Yuri Lowenthal playing a buff, chilled-out Muppet, and doing it really well, I might add, isn't something I saw coming this year, but here we are. Bugsnax's solid voice work fits perfectly with the game's generally grounded writing, but these elements sit in stark contrast to its colourful visuals and laid-back soundtrack. At first glance, Bugsnax looks and sounds like a kid's game with its vibrant locations and cuddly characters, and its light music reinforces that surface-level vibe. Overall, though, I think the jarring nature of the presentation and the subject matter works really well in establishing this somewhat uncanny tone. Also, it's worth pointing out that the designs of the Bugsnax themselves are a constant delight to discover. They're an inventive mix of food, various creature types, and a kid's craft project thanks in no small part to their big goofy googly eyes, and they come together in some really surprising ways. I also really enjoy their Pokemon-esque way of communicating by saying their names over and over again, which manages to avoid becoming annoying thanks to each creature using multiple different line reads. I will say that it's a little disappointing to see so many palette swaps amid the 100 Bugsnax on offer, but I feel like the bestiary here is still pretty varied considering the game's overall length. The Bugsnax designs also come into play when you feed them to your fellow Grumpuses, as their limbs transform to imitate whatever it was they just ate. This is when the veneer of super cute animals, soft Muppet people, and cruisy tunes falls away, and the game's underlying creepiness bubbles up to the surface. Putting the body horror elements to the side, however, slowly morphing your new friends into food monsters is shockingly entertaining, as the game has a staggering number of transformations on offer. Each Bugsnax is capable of morphing a Grumpus's feet, legs, body, arms, hands, teeth, nose, horns, and head, and these changes can vary wildly depending on the limb in question. Feeding a soda creature to a Grumpus, for instance, might make their foot into a can or their leg into a straw. These transformations are often surprising and hilarious, but on a technical note, they also utilize some notably great textures, especially when metallic transformations like the aforementioned soda cans or foil-wrapped baked potatoes are concerned. But feeding Grumpuses, the titular creatures, is only a small part of the game's core gameplay. In fact, it's typically the end part. The rest of the time, your Bugsnax experience will consist of cataloging and catching the various creatures of Snacktooth Island by utilizing a small set of gadgets. The first step is identifying the Bugsnax in question, which involves wandering around and taking photos of the various animals, which in turn reveals their routes, behaviors, and what they like or dislike. All useful information when it comes to the trapping of Bugsnax. As for the trapping itself, you have a small array of gadgets on hand to add the game's delicious menagerie to your snack pack. First and foremost is the trap, which allows you to capture Bugsnax in a small circular space beneath wherever you set it. Combined with the visible paths that you get while scouting out the various Bugsnax, it's simple and intuitive to use, but eventually you can combine it with some other gadgets for a little extra versatility. For example, you can use the trap in tandem with the launch pad, which is a pad that you can lay down and manually trigger to launch things. It's all in the name. Now, you could be boring and use the launch pad to send Bugsnax flying, potentially knocking them out and allowing you to catch them in your net. Or, you could set your trap on the launch pad and aim the launch pad at a flying Bugsnax to catch it in midair with the trap. The rest of the game's gadgets have similar combo potential while allowing for straightforward use at their core. The snack ball, for instance, gives you a controllable orb that you can send into small places or use to scare or lure Bugsnax. The sauce slinger, meanwhile, lets you cover areas and condiments to lure Bugsnax into different areas or into attacking and stunning other Bugsnax. Combine the two together and you have mobile bait in the form of a sauce-slathered snack ball. Say that 10 times fast. Over the course of its 12-hour runtime, Bugsnax is continually introducing new creatures and gadgets into the mix, so while the core concept of catching Bugsnax to fulfill quest conditions is never particularly complex or deep, there are always new twists being added into the mix. With that said, the most involved that its gameplay gets is in the final third, where Bugsnax throws elemental aspects into the formula. Typically, you'll be tasked with catching a Bugsnax that uses fire or ice to protect itself, and the main challenge becomes neutralizing the element in question, rather than figuring out how to catch the creature. It's a fine twist on the catching mechanic, but if the core concept doesn't sound appealing to you, then the bad news is that catching Bugsnax is pretty much all you do here. I mean, there are plenty of conversations to have with the Grumpuses on the island, and these conversations are the key to unlocking Bugsnax's great mysteries, but this is all pretty straightforward. Occasionally you'll find yourself with multiple dialogue options, but these rarely, if ever, have lasting effects, and most of the game's important interactions have you running through every dialogue option that's available to you. But the upside here is that while the game may lack in mechanical diversity, it more than makes up for in charm and quality storytelling. And if, like me, the creature cataloging and catching does interest you, then Bugsnax adds just enough throughout a single run to keep things fairly interesting between its chunks of compelling narrative. There are also plenty of side quests to take part in, though these don't shake up the gameplay loop all that much, as well as 100 Bugsnax in total to catch and catalog, so you can extend the game's decent runtime even further should you so choose. Personally, I think the side quests are all worth doing since it means you get to spend more time fleshing out the game's cast of characters, and there's a horrific joy in fully transforming your new friends into horrible, potentially edible abominations. And with that, Bugsnax is excellent. For the majority of my time with it, I was fairly fond of Bugsnax. I enjoyed the simple gameplay loop of catching and cataloging Bugsnax, I enjoyed interacting with the different characters and seeing their disturbing transformations over time, and I enjoyed the chilled vibes and delightful visuals that the game had to offer. But the way it ties everything together, particularly with the conclusion of the game's story, made me absolutely love Bugsnax. It may not have enough depth to keep everyone engaged with its gameplay, but the strength of its writing had me hooked, and the admittedly small additions to the catching mechanics over time kept things relatively fresh. If you're keen for a weird story and some simple gameplay to relax to, I cannot recommend Bugsnax highly enough. Bugsnax is available for PC, PS4, and PS5.